Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Taylor and I post all sorts of videos about fitness, lifestyle, and recently law school because I am headed to law school in the fall. I wanted to do a little video basically talking about, so I graduated college in 2018 and I'm not starting law school until fall of 2020. So I took a full 2 years off before starting law school, and I kind of wanted to talk about that decision because law school was something I knew I wanted to do as an undergrad. Like, this is something that I've known I wanted to do for a very long time, but I made the decision in undergrad to take a gap year, and I just kind of wanted to do a video detailing both kind of my decision process for that and how I think that panned out. Spoiler alert, I think it panned out well. So I decided to take a gap year for a couple of different reasons, and I really recommend a gap year for a couple of different reasons. And the first is that burnout is very, very, very real. I know people that go straight through, and so it's obviously doable. However, I knew myself personally, I'm very much like an overachiever by nature, and so I was really like going at undergrad as hard as I possibly could. I was taking like full course loads and then some. I was really working the entire time, so I was really like maxed out that entire time, and which was good, and I liked it, and I like being busy, and I like that kind of level of activity. But after 4 years of it, I was exhausted, and I could feel myself kind of starting to care less about like my grades and things like that. Not to the point that I like let them slip or anything, but I needed something that wasn't academics for a while, and so my original plan was just to take a year off, and then I ended up taking 2. But I needed a break. I needed something to kind of spend some time just doing a normal 9-to-5 job, where I, got off the clock and was like my own person, because school never felt like that, even though there is, people always have these strategies as far as like, treat school like you would a work day and like stop at 5. That never happened for me, and there was always some level of everything intermingled. So I wanted a switch from that, and I wanted to experience what, being in the workforce for real, being in the workforce full time, felt like, and so that was a big part of my decision. I also did it because, a lot of law schools like that, so I did it for application purposes as well. I remember reading that one of the schools I was applying to, Northwestern, like some massive percentage of their students have actually been out for at least a year. So it was kind of, at the time when I made the decision, it seemed like a strategic one as far as like, yeah, this will make me look better to law schools if I worked a full year in advance and I've proven that I'm like a normal, like a person who can function in the workplace. I don't know what that means, but anyways, that was a lot of my thought process in making that decision, and in deciding to take that time off was just, looks good on applications, and then just to give my brain a break from the really heavy academic stuff. Not that I don't, I didn't, in my gap year, I did not, just go travel the world for 6 months as much as I would have loved to. Like, I was still doing very, like, both intellectually stimulating and relevant work. So for me personally, I want to end up in the DC political nonprofit policy sphere at some point after graduation, and so I ended up working 2 different places. I ended up working for one that was basically, I was working on a lot of political campaigns, doing it all ended up being very data heavy, just because that happened to be where I found kind of it clicked the best, as opposed to, I thought I was going in to do like more public relations-y stuff, because that's something I got a degree in. Ended up on a more data side, but ended up working there, and then worked for a company that does a lot of like data support and fundraising and tech support for a wide breadth of like political and nonprofit clients. And so kind of got my feet wet in the world of, you know, DC politics. There's a lot of lessons I've learned about that that world and about how small it is sometimes, that I think were super, super, super valuable. So yeah, that is kind of what I did, and that was my reasons for making the decision. And to anyone who's like thinking about it, who's an undergrad now and is thinking about potentially taking a year off, I cannot recommend it highly enough. I obviously, like, I can't speak to like my performance in law school yet, but I know going in right now I feel very fresh, and I feel very like excited to get into a classroom environment again. I feel very like ready for that kind of, you know, academic challenge again. Whereas if I had gone straight from my undergrad and had come straight out of that 4-year slog and gone straight into law school, I wouldn't have had that same, you know, fresh mind and fresh new energy going into things. And I think that that's super valuable, given how much I have been told that law school is an immense amount of work. I think that'll go a long way as far as like making me feel excited for things, which is, you know, obviously not a tangible like a performance aspect of things, but is definitely a really, really great thing for me mentally. There's a lot more to the world than just being in school. It's a lot of experiences that I never would have gotten just working on internships and just working through just with my undergrad work experience. Having a job is very different from an internship. I learned that there's a lot more work involved and a lot less sitting around. And I think it's so good to have that experience out in the world and out doing things and living on your own in a way that, you know, you don't really get when you're in school. It also is really helpful for timelines of things. So for me, it was really nice because I had a lot more flexibility as far as like submitting law school applications because I wasn't trying to balance law school applications with a brand new semester starting in September and a brand new internship starting in September, and I was already kind of steadily established somewhere working, and I was able to, you know, use that off time in the evenings. I wasn't using that to study, I was using that to work on my law school applications, and I wasn't trying to balance a million things at once, and it made it so much less stressful, and it made it the process just a lot more, it gave me a lot more of an ability to focus on my applications and to focus on, you know, why I wanted to go to law school, rather than it being kind of like an additional side project in addition to everything I was doing in school. So for that aspect, it actually worked out really great. I don't think that that was something that I really like recognized was going to be an advantage, but definitely reduced the workload for the fall of my senior year. So yeah, the bottom line here is basically I took a gap year. I took 2 gap years. For the second one was really for no other reason than I liked my job and I didn't want to leave yet. And I absolutely recommend it. I think that it is just, it's so good. And I think that it's going to have a really, really positive impact on my law school experience. So if you are kind of, I guess, in a similar boat to me in any regard and are thinking about taking a gap year, this is my official thumbs up of approval. I fully support it. Absolutely, 100%. Do that. Take the time off. Figure out what your life is like outside of the confines of an academic building and come back to it fresh and ready to go. And it's great. That is the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, you can hit the subscribe button down below. And I will see you guys next week for another new video. Bye.